Pleasure to have us on the Public Service HR Mentorship Series. This is Bolabo Omoniyi Okudero, your regular host on this platform. It's my pleasure to have you here, and I'm so glad to see all of us joining and then ready to learn. It's my pleasure once again, gladdens my heart, and I want to assure you that this evening we will not join this platform for joining sake. We will learn, we will unlearn, and we will relearn. So thank you so much for joining. And don't forget that this platform is for us to come together. Let's share knowledge together. When we share knowledge, we will shape HR. When we shape HR, we shape other cadres. And once we've been able to succeed in doing that, we will also elevate the public service. And when we elevate the public service, we are going to get ourselves better for service delivery and improve on the quality of service we are rendering in our offices. So I want to welcome you once again to this evening. And don't forget that today is the second edition in the month of April 2026. You're all welcome. Today we are going to look at a topic that will be addressing what has been on my mind for so very long time. So we are looking at a topic that deals with data. Data is no longer record-keeping tool. It's no longer it's no longer record-keeping tool. So as data is becoming evolving and important in our daily lives, the service will also be becoming data-driven. And I'm hoping that by the time we are through with today's edition, we will know what data is all about. We will know what data is capable of doing even in our lives. So I want you to join me as we welcome our facilitator today, who is named by Oluwadamilare Inwang. Let me quickly read his profile for us so that we will get started immediately. Mr. Dare is a career development architect and human resource strategist. With over a decade of rich hands-on experience in human resources, Mr. Dare has had the privilege of partnering with organizations across diverse industries to design and implement people strategies that do not just check boxes, they move the needle. Specializing in human resource analytics, policy development, performance management, and workflow planning, he brings both strategic vision and practical execution to every initiative he leads. From shaping HR policies to championing transformative change, his expertise spans human resource information system, organizational behavior, and development, which he leverages not only to manage talent effectively, but also to unlock and maximize individual collective potential. Mr. Dare believes human resource is more than a function, is a catalyst for purpose, which are also very much in line with. Is a catalyst for purpose, catalyst for culture and impact. And every policy and every conversation is an opportunity to help people and organizations to thrive. So Like one of Mr. Dare's beliefs is that every opportunity we have is to help people and to help organizations. So we are helping ourselves here. We definitely want to get better. And that's why I will give you to as many that have joined here now and as many that will still join later. This is the platform where we are helping ourselves. We are helping ourselves because public service, especially Lagos State public service, must surely get better. Must surely get better. And it will start from you, it will start from me. So what you are doing in your office at your duty post, ask yourself, is it actually adding value to the public service of Lagos State? Or you just go to office and mark attendance, get your salary paid, and that is it. So we are going to look at how data is no longer record keeping tool, is now evolving, and service also must become data driven. Join me as I welcome Mr. Oluwadamilare Inyang. So Dare, please, I will put my slides down, then I want you to come up with your slides. Thank you so much for welcoming Mr. Dare. I will pull you down and I want you to start with your own slides now. Mr. Dare, thank you for sparing your time to join us and share knowledge with us. Thank you so much. Please, the floor is yours. Take over the floor while we listen to what you have got to share with us this evening. Thank you and God bless you, Mr. Dare. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I really appreciate this opportunity. Just give me a moment and we'll begin. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is today we'll be talking about data intelligence and how it would help to reimagine the framework of performance and engagement in the public service. So hopefully by the end of this session, as Doctor has mentioned, that we'll be able to take away something that's very, very tangible to us. So in ancient Rome, you had a lot of people. Most of these people went to temples to seek the advice of oracles. You had kings who conquer other nations. You had women who would go to go and ask if they would be married to certain types of husbands. You had merchants who wanted to understand or who wanted to know their future, that if they travel to other countries would in the modern world today, we're also looking to take a peek into our future. But the only difference is our own oracle is our data. This basically means that by looking into our past, in the words of Winston Churchill, the farther back you can look, the farther forward you're likely to see. I'm basically just saying that by studying the past patterns and human behavior, I personally believe that as human resource professionals, that we can't afford to ignore what our data is telling us. And we need to actually start being more proactive and less reactive. Well, on my way to work every morning, I pass along Agidingbi Road. And I'm going to use this example to explain what I see or what I understand as data intelligence. There's a particular last mile official who's usually there. He's there from 7 a.m. to about 5 or 6 p.m. And he's been there for the past 2 years. I'd like to imagine that this last month, he knows what time school children resume for school. He knows when the traffic is starting to peak. He knows when the traffic is starting to drop.
Mr. Derek,
Yes, sir.
you're breaking intermittently. Can you just do something about that from your hand? Sorry for interrupting.
All right. Apologies. My apologies. I hope the network is better now. Hello, doctor.
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you.
All
I
right.
just want it to flow without breaking at all.
Okay, my apologies. Thank you very much.
So I think it's from your end. The network is okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. All right. So as I was saying, this last month official has vast amounts of experience and knowledge. He knows what time school children resume. The traffic starts to drop. He understands the best routes to take along that corridor. If peradventure the general manager of LASMA decided tomorrow that he wanted to understand why you would have certain traffic accidents along that corridor, that last to provide data about what's happening and how to mitigate such issues. It is that application of knowledge that the LASMA official has that is termed as data intelligence. Now, data intelligence is not just raw numbers in a spreadsheet. That's just those numbers are given a context. If you have data, if you have information, and you're able to draw perfect insights from it, you're able to draw perfect information to understand how does this information affect my organization? What loops have I been avoiding? How can I mitigate? Which is what we call data intelligence. Say, for example, you have 30 officers who have resigned within the last year. That is data. That's a metric. That's a statistic. But if you now look deeper and you try to understand that out of those 30 officers, 28 of them, you start to draw insights. What happened? Why do we have 28 officers in the same ministry for 6 years? Were they unsatisfied? Was it an error? Was it an issue of an age gap? So asking such questions, intelligence. So you would ask yourself, why is data intelligence so important? What is so special about it? Well, I'll tell you. I believe that most of us know this logo, Nokia. Anybody that doesn't know this logo is a dominant force in the telecommunications industry between the years of 2003 and 2008. They had a large market share of 38% in the telecommunications industry. Well, that simply normally pick 10 people around the world who use mobile phones. 3 of them most likely would be using Nokia. That put them in a position that no other telecommunication. What happened to Nokia? We're in 2026 and all we hear about are iPhones, Samsungs. What happened to Nokia? I'll tell you what happened. In the year 2007, iPhone, and Nokia found out about this. Their reaction to Steve Jobs' presentation was that, oh, it's just a smartphone. it's just a phase. They had no reaction to, or no response to how to, on how to respond to smartphones. This reaction led to their decline. As you can see here, Nokia was a dominant force. In 2007, when Steve Jobs introduced the smartphone, Nokia's reign as the dominant telecommunications industry began to drop. You can see here that between the years of 2015 to 2025, for any organization, that is a drastic fall. And it all happened because they were unable to look properly into their data or have a proper reaction to what their data was telling them. Now, we've talked about data intelligence. We understand what it means. We know what it looks like. But as an organization, how do we adopt data intelligence? Well, these are the phases of adoption for data intelligence. First of all, we need to recognize historical data. In every ministry today, we have the registry, which is basically our powerhouse for files, records, and every single information that our ministry has held from its inception to the current date. Now, I believe that within the civil service, we need to change our mindset from seeing information as just a pile of files to actually seeing it as data that can be utilized to transform our future. We need to accept that this data is more than just decades of records, but actually information that can turn us into a proactive civil service. The next step to the data intelligence adoption is to draw insights. Now, when we're talking about drawing insights, what do we mean? For example, I've looked into my information now. I've looked into my data. I've seen what it's telling me, but I don't have concrete solutions. I've not asked the right questions. Okay, so how do we draw insights? We draw insights by following certain steps. After looking into our data, after reading what it says, we need to understand what the data is telling us. We need to learn to ask strategic questions. We need to ask the right questions. Okay, we've mentioned that it's possible that in the ministry we had 33 people resigning last year, and that we had 28 of them who were from a particular ministry. So you now need to ask, what happened? Why? Of leadership style? Is it a matter of rewards management? What were the issues? What were the factors? What were the variables that influenced their resignation? The next phase is pattern recognition. Now, take that last mile official, for example. Now, if during the rainy season, there's a particular part of the road in Agidingbi that cars tend to get stuck. You know that cars tend. Last year it happened. The previous year it happened. And this year it's more likely that it can happen again. So what do you do? What's your response to that pattern? How do you become proactive in that situation? Next, comparative intelligence. Comparative intelligence is just basically taking your information across other organizations. What are they doing there? How are they doing it better? What's making their situation a lot worse than ours? Why are we successful? By benchmarking and comparing our data, we're able to understand that there are certain things that we're doing right, and there are certain things that we're probably not doing right, or certain things that can be done better. Measuring past MDA's data against previous years to turn raw data into to action. This final phase is what has killed a lot of organizations around the world. You've gotten your data, you've looked at what it says, you have drawn your insights, you've seen the pattern. Because you already have a structure in place, just because you don't have the willpower or the strength to apply the necessary change management skills, you fall. Now, within the civil service, I believe data intelligence is something that can be championed by the Lagos State Civil Service, if only we're able to put our minds to it. Now, so we talked about the different phases of adoption in data intelligence. I mentioned ones that actually applied some of these techniques, those that did and those that didn't, and how it was successful to them, and how being unable to apply some of these techniques led them to be unsuccessful. Of the United States that is tasked with the responsibility of space exploration and research. Now, in 1986, NASA built a rocket in space. And during this time, the rocket that they built cost them about $3 billion. Now, $3 billion is a lot of money. However, what happened? As they were about to launch the rocket, in $3 billion disappeared, got destroyed, wasted. NASA's reaction to this occurrence was very, very simple. They conducted an investigation. They tried to understand what happened, and then they were able to actually figure it out. What's worse was that in figuring it out, they understood that there was an employee that had actually raised concerns about the parts of their rocket that just another piece of information, rather than looking into the insights. It led to the loss of such a large amount of money. It was very unfortunate. So the next step, drawing insights. That's the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation and LASMA. Now, these two organizations were very, very helpful and have been actually able to draw concrete insights when it comes to this decade, have seen a strong transition from what traffic looked like in the past to what it looks like now. A good example is the introduction of traffic lights, the building and connection of different types of bridges, such as the Ojota-Okpabi Maryland Bridge. Now, in order to do this, it wasn't just that they sat down and then they built bridges, or they sat down and then they built traffic lights. Information was gathered. They studied traffic movements. They applied route optimization techniques. Why is it that in certain areas, vehicles are more likely to break down? Do we need to actually start putting emergency agencies in these areas? What are the questions that we need to ask when it comes to traffic in Lagos State? The Lagos State Ministry of Transportation and LASMA was able to effectively apply and draw insights from the information they had from years of traffic. And it was with that they came up with different techniques, different tools, different policies that have led us to where we are today in traffic management. Thirdly, we'll be looking at pattern recognition. Now, I mentioned that pattern recognition is very important. It's basically looking at the patterns of our past and trying to use it to forecast how we can project an effective and proactive future. In the United Kingdom, there was a national health service, or there is a national health service, and they had a particular issue. Pre-2000, there are records for pre-2000, 2010 was, they kept records, but the records were not adequately tracked. They didn't look at patterns. They didn't ask questions. They didn't draw insights from that information. And what this led to was serious disaster. We had a lot of low customer satisfactions, a lot of poor mortality rates amongst their patients. It led to serious disasters. And it wasn't until 2010 when someone actually, a part of their parliament actually decided to conduct serious investigations that these patterns were now drawn out. They actually now saw that certain issues were reoccurring. And it was because of these certain issues, or it was due to negligence of these certain issues, that you had so much death, so much decline in hospital performance. Next is comparative intelligence. So with comparative intelligence, I looked at Singapore. As most of us know, Singapore's civil service is one of the best in the world today. And it's because of different applications, different techniques, different policies that have been favorable. That data didn't just draw insights, but then they were involved in serious benchmarking of their educational performance with other countries, with other states. They benchmarked with Korea, they benchmarked with the United Kingdom, they benchmarked with the Netherlands. So that most students were very good in mathematics, but when you looked at the problem-solving skills of some of these students, when compared to countries like Netherlands and Korea, it was very, very low. Their students were dropping when you problem-solving skills. So what did they do? They sat down, they created and restructured a new curriculum that would accommodate these skills that their students. And today, they have one of the largest and one of the best educational systems in the world. Finally, insights to action. Rwanda and their ministry in opposing to what the United Kingdom had faced, Rwanda actually looked into their data. They noticed that a lot of their hospitals had issues. There were areas where resources were low. There were areas where doctors, certain specialists or doctors in certain created a scheme. They created policies that were favorable to their citizens, favorable to doctors within that industry, and started to plug up the loopholes, started to plug up where they had issues. Now, today, the Rwandan Ministry of Health has completely transformed the health industry to Yahoo. I know that most of us probably have used a Yahoo Mail, but there's a reason why we don't use it today anymore. Yahoo was a multi-billion-dollar company in the past, stronger than Google. Between the years of 2010 and 2020, there was a strong transition from using online and web models to mobile phones. Tastes. Yahoo conducted their study. They actually found that this was going to be a game changer for them. But because of the kind of structure they had, because of the kind of framework they had, they were completely invested in using a web-based model. And this led to their decline. So for about $4.8 billion, which, as it sounds, a lot of money. Eventually, but periodically or before that, they were 10 times worth that. So now it's well understood that performance is not just, goes beyond just appraisals. It goes beyond just taking attendance, coming to work and taking attendance. By applying personally in your workspace, adoption phases, you would be able to actually say that you are data intelligent. Now, we need ministries, departments, and agencies to actually stop treating their records as mere files and start to see them as in me. Where do we stand in terms of things? We need officers to actually feel that the service history is not just an audit trail, but actually level officers. How much impact do we need? Okay, we've heard about AI, heard about artificial intelligence. How can we actually apply artificial intelligence in the service today? Develop and make us work better. How can it help us work smarter? By applying some of these techniques, we tend to improve our employee engagement. We have officers, we have staff that start to become more force a spirit of organizational citizenship behavior. Pattern recognition. We need to actually start applying pattern recognition as a form of futuristic prediction. Okay, I understand that certain things have happened next year. It shouldn't just be that certain occurrences happen every year and then we don't take note of it. And then we are negligent about the impact that it has on us as a whole. I believe that Lagos State Civil Service has some of these tools, if not all, to actually implement and as we know that performance rises and best practices need to spread quickly across ministries, departments, and agencies. We understand that comparative intelligence is also important. Okay, we are the Lagos State Civil Service. We're moving forward. We're looking at the patterns. We need to start comparing ourselves with private organizations. We need to start comparing ourselves with other civil services. What are they doing right? What are the variables that are helping us move forward ahead of them? Or in what areas are whims that we're facing in Lagos today? How can that impact our transformation as a state? And then finally, insights to action. Performance compounds over time as every insight leads to concrete decisions. Staff witness real change, build systems that actually listens and acts. This means that we shouldn't just look at performance as just just my own part of impacting within the state. We need to actually understand that there are certain variables that led me to this point. There are certain by looking into our data. So I'm going to conclude with the story of the Singapore Civil Service. In Singapore, found that they were very successful. They had a strong GDP. Their civil service was effective. They had a record graduate output. But there was something that they recognized and they realized. They noticed that some of the skills that they were currently training for, that their country would not need it any longer. And that it would only take just a little shock to actually break this cycle and reveal them as being vulnerable. So what did they do? An agency was set up, a task force was set up, and then they began to actually ask questions. They began to look at themselves. What kind of skill sets would we need in the next 10 years? Why are we not training for it? What can we do to improve ourselves? Basically, they transformed themselves from a reactive civil service to a proactive civil service. it that hit Singapore called SARS. And this led to a large unemployment rate of 4.7%. A lot of people died. And suddenly it became apparent that those that had the necessary, it was very obvious that they had been gone. However, like I said, Singapore had sat down and had prepared for this. And those that had been prepared prior to this were able to actually take on the jobs that were available. Within the next 2 years, to a rate of 2 to 8%. What Singapore understood and acted on is this, that data is not just a record of the past. You will be able to turn yourself or transform your organization to a proactive one. An organization that reads their data is able to actually achieve its first move. So, in conclusion, boardrooms or global tech giants, it's a necessity. And as we have seen, the cost of data intelligence, of ignoring data intelligence, is not just irrelevancy. It's not just they simply chose not to listen to what it was telling them. The Lagos State Civil Service cannot afford to make that mistake. I would love a future where the Lagos State Civil Service is regarded as number one in our payroll register. But their patterns, their history, their signals, by the time we learn to read these variables, we would understand that there's a better way of doing things. To read traffic signs along Agidimbi is just one head in a million of the different civil servants that we have in the world today. The 5-stage framework that we've explored is not just a theoretical exercise, but an actual roadmap that would actually guide us towards achieving. Singapore did not just stumble into global rankings. They didn't just become number one overnight. They sat down, they analyzed their data, they asked the right questions, they looked at patterns, they compared themselves with various other organizations. They earned that position by making deliberate. For Lagos State, the data is already here, and it's time that we start listening. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Dari. Thank you so much. Thank you. We cannot thank you enough. And there's something I want us to understand before Olai will take over. I want us to please appreciate this man with your emojis. He has given us a catalyst now. A majority of us might not understand what Mr. Dari has just done, but I will shed light on how we can make what this presentation can turn to a catalyst for us. Please appreciate him. Mr. Dari, thank you so much for this insightful presentation. You have done your research, and it shows that you really, really want us to know why we should embrace data intelligence now, because of your of the deep research you've done and the comparative analysis you've done with people that actually handled data very well. So I want us to see this presentation as a catalyst for us. Look back to what you are doing in your office now. Ask yourself questions that the way I'm handling records in my office now, is it just like a tool, or I should become a data driven person, making decisions by doing data analysis, like the 5 stages that took us through were the stages that I've also gone through in 1 or 2 agencies that I've worked before. For instance, I looked at the data where I left to where I am now, and I did an analysis that if I could automate the leave process, a lot of man hour will be saved, a lot of wastage will be reduced. These were the things I put into consideration, and I went ahead to automate the leave process where I left the office I was before. So I'm saying it again that where I am now in my office, we have done something like what Mr. Dari took us through. We've recognized historical data in our office. We've also drawn insight, and we've also seen the pattern. We've recognized pattern, and now we are doing comparative intelligence, because we know that if we automate the process in our office now, what advantage are we going to derive? What advantage are we going to take away from automating the process of registration of the office? I mean, for people that want to patronize our office, automation has come to stay. We need to embrace it. We cannot embrace it until we see data far, far more than the way we are seeing it. So I want us to go away from this class, this session tonight, and ask yourself questions that where am I now when it comes to data? Am I really embracing data, or is just the normal thing in your office where you are now, knowing fully that if you don't do, some will actually do, and those that will do it will separate themselves from you, and they are becoming relevant whether we like it or not. Because when they say who are those that are data intelligence inclined, they will show up with the backup document, and that might be a leverage for them. So what I'm saying this evening is for us never to just assume that it's going to be business as usual when it comes to data in our offices. No, it's not going to be so. So wake up from your slumber. Whoever that's on this platform, wake up, go for courses on data analysis, go for courses, online courses, classroom classes that will make you how will I put it? That will make you distinct from others. And I implore us, please take a clue from what we have learned today, and let data data intelligence be our watchword where we are going forward from now. That's just what I want to add, while I'll ask Olaiton to please take over and see if we have questions that Mr. Dari will quickly help us to answer before we move on tonight. Thank you, Olaiton. Please, can you take over the floor?
Good evening, Doctor. Thank you so much. And big Larry, I know a week ago we spoke about how do we then prepare ourselves as public servants to be future ready, and key skills for us to have, knowing the story our organization is all about, knowing where we are headed to. Okay, I see your aunt. Don't worry, I'll come to you very soon. I know someone was asking a question earlier. I'm trying to read through. I saw a question. The person was asking about NASA or NAGDA? I'm coming. I want to scroll down to that question.
I think Daria has answered that
Sorry.
question. No?
We can't hear you, Doctor. You were saying something.
Yeah, I think Daria has answered that question. Yeah, the question came from Mr. Mayowa. Daria, have you answered that question?
Okay.
Please unmute yourself and just clear that area.
I think Benny
Yes,
was trying
I
to
did.
confirm.
Yes, he has answered. Thank you.
I did. I scrolled through the comment section. I responded.
Okay. So let's have Ore. Ore, please, can you unmute yourself to ask your question?
Okay, before Ore, somebody was asking if this lecture is weekly. It's not weekly, but it's twice every month, first and third Sunday of every month. First and third Sundays of every month. Although we have other platform where we also have a learning session like this, which also comes up probably second or fourth Sunday of every month. I think that answered the question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor. The question of civil service in Lagos State. We are future ready in Lagos State. So, Ore, please, can you please unmute yourself? You have the floor.
Oh, okay. Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, please, we can.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. Damilare, thank you for your presentation. It was very, very enlightening. And I don't really have a question. It's just probably a contribution to what you have said. And I think the topic itself is a very important topic, especially in the Lagos State Public Service in terms of data. I feel, yes, the data intelligence is important, but firstly, we have to ask ourselves if we have relevant data, especially when it comes to employee engagement in the public service. And I don't think we have good data to use, especially when we want to probably create maybe very in terms of performance or in terms of welfare sometimes. And it's one of the issues we are having, because as the world is going, data is important aspect of our work, and without the relevant data, then how are we now making decisions? That means we are just making decisions based on the numbers of probably few people, rather than doing like to talk about, let's say, an engagement of, okay, public servants in Lagos State, how are they, how can they improve? And we're only asking only 2-3 people without doing a proper it's not going to work out properly. So it's just an encouragement to HRs, especially because as HR, we are responsible for data, and whatever level we are public service to improve, not just in terms of profit, but in terms of services too. Because if civil servants don't perform in their workplace, then how would Lagos State in a whole perform? Because we are the engine when it comes to expectations. Then there's no how Lagos State will also improve. Lagos State is improving because, okay, there are some things that Lagos State is putting in place to ensure that public servants are doing well. But we can do better and we can do more. And always analysis, especially maybe in different departments. That's why we have the HR measures and accountability, because those are their responsibilities, to gather all these data to improve on decisions we make in terms of, especially, like I said, employee engagement. We can see so many employees No, because there's no data to that effect. If we say, okay, let's look at the data of employees that are now happy about maybe one thing or two things, and we don't have any. We don't have any. But at least if we are able to do at least a survey of, okay, maybe relevant questions, and by the time be able to find out ways to improve, especially in the service. And of course, also innovations could even come out from there. Because if you say, okay, automation is what is lacking, maybe you feel that there's a process that could be improved on. And with that, innovations could come up. And I think the Oga said, data is important. And if we don't use it properly, we will just be going backwards. But in order for us to move forward, we have to actually have data, and we actually have to use it well. So that's just my own contribution to it, especially for the HRs in the
servants. It's time for us to start doing things at par with private organizations in private sector. It's time for us to also understand that every little drop of water we put in civil service gives us a better nation. Thank you very much, Ore. Thank you. I see comments on the chat box. Reliable and evidence-based data is a function of our mandates and execution of activities, projects, and programs. Thank you. I'm not sure we have any other question on the chat box. Comments, we don't always, it doesn't have to be questions alone. If you have comments, please feel free to read.
Okay, so can I just add one or two things to what Ore just said? Okay.
Okay, sir.
So Ore has pushed something out there, and I want us to please key into what Ore has pushed to us. He said probably by survey, maybe we were not we didn't cautious of what Ore was actually saying. Ore said maybe through survey, we can get decision made, not listening to just one or two section of the service. Survey that can go round, that will help us to make informed decisions. So what are we doing? For those of us who are actually data intelligent in the service, that really want to make decisions that are informed. So let's come up with things that we can do, with innovations that we can come up with, that will help us to get information in the service that will help us to make right decisions. Not just a section of the service. Let our questions, let our survey go round so that we can make decisions that will be informed. So I appreciate you, Ore, for that, your input. I appreciate you seriously, and I want us to just take a cue from there and move on with that contribution. That's just what I have to say for now. Please, let's see if you have questions, and if not, let's close for the day.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for adding that. Yes, I know Ore mentioned survey, but the truth is we do a lot of surveys. We have a lot of don't always just maximize the use of those data. We don't go back to that data to say what work, what worked, what has not worked, how can we implement new strategies and all. So we need to also focus more on our feedback mechanisms, on how we can get we are headed to. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this amazing colleague of mine, Mr. Damila.
Thank you
I
so
can't
much,
see
Olaipo.
I can't see any other questions. But for those who would like to go back to listen to this conversation again, you can just go to the YouTube. I pasted it before. I'm pasting it again. You can to be posted there. You can listen to it over and over and over again. So, the objectives.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. You are very
Exactly.
correct.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir, because we need to understand what key performance indicators are in order for us to proceed. Data has it. Thank you very much, and we'd like to call it a.
So for those who have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do subscribe so that we can get notifications as we upload many videos to come. Thank you so much. I will unmute all of us now. We will sing for Mr. Dari. Let's sing for him, for he is a jolly good fellow. Let's appreciate him. Okay, somebody is asking, Olaitan, are you there? Okay, yeah, good.
Yes, I just responded now.
She's posted it
At
again.
Dolabo Okudero. You find him on YouTube.
And Jelade, please quickly ask your question before we go ahead and sing for Mr. Dari. Unmute yourself, please,
Okay,
Mr.
I just asked you to unmute, sir, so you can unmute.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Speak on.
Yeah, in fact, I want to appreciate the organizer of this program. I believe this is my first time. It was my DHNR that posted something this evening. Number one, I'm what I gained from that that lecture. Data intelligence, number one, will help us in better planning and policy for can plan more effectively, and government can determine where, for example, in education, where more schools, where more teachers are needed instead of planning by. Then it will, because when reports, statistics, and field data are properly analyzed, management can identify gaps and set priorities in monitoring and evaluation of programs. In fact, this aspect is very crucial because it will help ministry, departments, and agencies to track whether policy and programs are achieving results. And more importantly, data intelligence will also help us in transparency and accountability. So when government activities are backed by clear data, it becomes easier to justify actions, to spend budgets, and measure results. In fact, I want to give kudos to Dr. Bolan and also the lecturer of today. And I want to be part of this first Sunday of every month and third Sunday.
Yes.
By the grace of God. Yes, sir. I will not miss it. this
Amen.
today.
By the grace of God. So I want to believe that Mr. Ojelade is the same Ojelade from Ministry of Education.
Yes, sir. Office of Education Quality Assurance.
Oh,
Pastor.
okay, good. So you are welcome. You are welcome to this platform. You can imagine this link was posted on your office platform, and I don't know how many people from your office have joined, but it was posted today, and you took it upon yourself to join. It's because you are craving for knowledge. Not some will see it and just brush it aside. But for those who are not joining, we will not blame them. It's because of your desire to get more knowledge. Thank you for joining us. We will be expecting you first Sunday in the month of May. Gospel in our lives. Thank you so much. So I've unmuted us. Let's take our normal national anthem here. Let's appreciate Mr. Oluwadamilare by singing together. He is a jolly good fellow. Unmute yourselves and let's do that quickly as we move.